I will introduce myself as such. My name is Cindy Mali. I co-anchor Sunrise on ETV. I come from very, very humble beginnings in Ekurhuleni, what used to be known as the East Rand, Guatemala Springs. Raised in a family of 7. There's 5 girls and parents. They're still madly in love, which makes most of us very embarrassed and sickening. But it's lovely lives. But now they've already gone through 7 unsuccessful ones and still trying. But anyway, so my folks brought us up with a self-belief that wherever you are, whoever you are, there's enough room for everybody under the sun. I mean, from the age of 2, I can remember how I was told I'm the most beautiful. You can walk into a room full of Miss Universes and Miss South Africas or whatever it is, but nobody can take away your shine, your beauty, your unique ability. And this is largely what I want to talk about, because as you grow older, the foundation that you give it to say you can conquer the world. You know how children always go outside? I love to go into the garden and they grab the hohos and what have you, and they battle with the hohos and they come back, mommy, mommy, mommy. And when they open their hand, there's a Parktown prawn, and of course I'm scrugging my book, you know. But they love that kind of thing, and we're giving them the ability to say, fear not. You've got all these talents. It's God-given. It's inherent. You cannot fail, you know. And then yet, when you grow older, you tend to buy into the negative influences. My industry, broadcasting, and even prior to that, in aviation, when I still used to be tea, coffee, or means. This is before I had my 2 kids. Is also, I wouldn't say aggressively so and negative, but you do encounter people that you, 1, don't get along with, and secondly, might be resistant to change. Now, we joined, Ember myself, we joined the airline in 1994 when there was just an influx of so-called non-whites, because before then, you know, there were about 10 colored people, I think, in the airlines. And we met up with a lot of resistance, the negativity that says, oh, the standards are dropping and what have you. So on your first flight, this is a Durban route, we still used to serve hot meals. 1, you're not sure of your product knowledge. Secondly, you're nervous about not really taking the theoretical part and then applying it. And then you get across a passenger that will then ask you, so what wines do you serve? Do I even pronounce it properly? The Cabernet Sauvignon, you know? And by then, the time is eating up because it's a quick flight. It's about a 50-minute takeoff and landing flight. You know, you have other passengers to attend to, and you rattle through all of this, and eventually you gain your confidence. That would then pose or put the ball in the passenger's court, and you say to him, "Okay, which wine would you like?" Only to find that he's not a fan with his wines either. Because then he starts like, oh no, but what's on your wine list? You're supposed to know. I'm like, no, but you know what you drink. What's your poison? You know? That's when you develop, I think, which is a positive attitude. I went to great lengths to try and research and talk to some contacts and the Wits psychiatric and psychology departments to talk about stress management. The truth of the matter is, I don't personally feel that there is an expert, because in most cases, if you look at music, some of the best music writers, particularly when it comes to love songs, Lionel Richie, Tom Jones, Paul McCartney, you name them, you know, they all have one common denominator, which is failed relationships. If we can pen down, I would love you forever, and I will give my life to you, and we'll walk together into the sunset and have wonderful babies, and before you know it, you're going through divorce number 4. Hello. That's questionable. That's questionable exactly how much of an authority you are on the subject. It's good and well, yes, you can study it, etc., but it's still different strokes for different folks. How you manage your stress and whatever techniques that you find in applying and managing your stress, it's always better to try and hold on to it by getting advice from others. I'll tell you about my life stories and how I've managed to conquer some of my most stressful encounters. Now, the stress management business is humongous, multi-billion, be it from the medication to the alcoholic beverages, whichever is your vice and poison. The stress management industry is making a killing in it. And it also comes back to the fact that a lot of us don't take responsibility for our own sources of stress. An example is talking about relationships earlier on. And Ed was saying that I'm going to speak on it. I'm not an expert. I want to make that clear from the onset. But what I found, especially amongst women, now one of my other jobs was also as an inquiries clerk at Rotsey Street Standard Bank when I was one of the youngest. Are you guys comfortable with me on these high heels? Can I take a walk? Because they're squeezing. There's no relation to my brain. You don't mind? May I take the jacket off? You can take off everybody from back here. Yes. Okay, the pants are a bit tight. I need to have some work done on it, but don't judge me. Working in Standard Bank, and there's this lady called Teresa. I'm not speaking foul of her, but she's just a classic example that comes to mind. Come Valentine's Day or any other social occasion, there's always something from her husband, much to the irritation of the other ladies that work in the bank. Now, I don't know if you know the banking environment. I'm talking about maybe 1990, 92. And Benoni, Straat. So it's a big deal because getting married is a huge achievement in any culture. I mean, you can go to Botswana, to the Ukraine or whatever, but when you're married and you have the whole fairy tale thing, it's all fabulous, and we all aspire and raise our children to believe that as well. Nothing wrong with it. You know, if it works for you, fantastic. But the thing is, you don't necessarily have to fabricate the stories to buy into the Cinderella story. Here's Teresa. Valentine's Day, oh, there's a bouquet of flowers, and there's a delivery from American Swiss, and allerhande. But at the end of the month, as the inquiries clerk was busy sorting the mail, because I'm junior, I have to do all the menial labor, all the stuff is American Swiss, Teresa could see. And then she's sitting with this pile of debt. Why? Because she has to create the impression to her peers. To say, oh, you can admire me. My husband loves me. Pity for you, you know? And it continues. Another example was when I had a girls' night out. There were about 10 of us, with cousins and my partner's sisters, etc. Go to a lovely eat-out in Soweto. It's called the Back Room. You must try it. It's fabulous. So while we're there, everybody's SMSing. The next day, one person's phone rings. Judy, for argument's sake. Her phone rings and then she passes it on to him, and then to you, and then it's like, tell him, we're at the movies. Just tell him something. God damn it, why don't you tell him you're going out with the girls? But now you're trying to create the impression that he is so jealous and he doesn't want you to go out and he's so controlling of your life. Why? Because he loves you so much. Why do we buy into that? There's one thing that I call fear, or well, I define it as fear, F-E-A-R. And to me, fear is false evidence appearing real. Right. False evidence appearing real. That's what I define as fear. And whatever you do in life, if you do it out of love or out of fear, will reflect and manifest itself as such. Whether it be in the quality of life that you have, how you manage your stresses, how you manage your relationships, how you manage your work environment. The false evidence appearing to be real is what either you create or what the external factors are that other people will tell you. A quick exercise, Crystal clear. Okay, just say something nasty to Claudette and pass it on. Claudette, you say something nasty to Flo, Flo something nasty to Anne. Don't think about it. That's the first nasty thing at the top of your mind. You might have a picture of your boss that you would ideally like to say it to. In this case, the picture of your boss would be Claudette. If your boss is okay, I don't want to make out the boss. Oh dear, so we've got management as well. Okay, so anything, be it a taxi driver, anything that really irates you so much, that gives you, that brings up the worst person in you. Okay, just say it, work with me, don't even think about it. Horrible. Point. Moron. Point. Stupid. Point. So leave us stupid. Irritating. You irritating. And doesn't have to give you nice as well, because that was what I was going to say. Okay, you go to Maureen. Okay, so she has to say it to you first. Nice guy. Okay. Okay, what do you think? Cheeky. Okay.